Welcome, educators, to the Real Educators Podcast. I'm your host, Eddie Martinez, and today we have a special episode where me and my guest, Derek Kuhn, will be discussing how to create genuine rapport with students. You know, as educators, we know firsthand the importance of creating these genuine relationships with students, and how important that is in the classroom. Well, today we're going to cover specific steps on how to begin building that student rapport today. But first, I want to ask you educators a couple questions. What are you passionate about? What things need to be changed in education? What do other educators need to hear? If you have answers to any of those questions, I would love to have you as a guest on this podcast. It's simple. Just go to www.therealeducators.com and fill out a questionnaire to share your message. As an educator, you are more than qualified to have your voice heard, and I can't wait to hear all about it. Again, the questionnaire is at www.therealeducators.com, and together we can make real changes in education. And we're back. All right, guys, for this episode, I got a special guest with me, Derek Kuhn, and he's got a great message for you guys. So, Derek, thanks for jumping on.
No problem.
All right.
Go ahead.
So, with every interview, every guest has a message, and Derek has a great message that I want him to kind of share with you guys. We broke it out into 5 parts. So, Derek, you mind reading your first part of your message?
No, not at all. For those that want to know how to build relationships with your students and students in general, here are a few things that I do within my school. First and foremost, I need to let you know that I am a coach. So building relationships comes kind of second nature to me. Usually once my players say good or even bad things about me, it makes those other students curious to see if those things are true or not. So now I begin. One thing I like to do is be open with all my students from the first day forward. I'm not talking about telling them everything about myself, but they should have a general idea of what I expect of them and what they're going to expect from me. This allows me to use my life in certain situations as teaching points, because we all know as educators, textbook learning is not the only education for our students that they need.
Okay, that's awesome. All right, so we're talking about rapport here, right? So, Coach, I want to go over a couple things you mentioned in your message. Mm-hmm. The first thing you mentioned, I thought it was interesting, was saying that you're a coach, right? So yes. Why is that so important with creating rapport with kids?
Well, I feel like with coaches, we spend the most time with students. And so when a coach spends the most time with the student, he's already naturally going to have that rapport with them, because especially with me coaching football, I'm spending time with them over the summer. They come in and I'm there for half the day with them. So it's naturally that as a human, you're going to interact with that person. And so that's why building a relationship as a coach is so significant as a teacher, because they tend to talk to you more as a coach, because you take on that father figure or, mother figure role if you're a female coach. And it's kind of easier for them to open up because, hey, you're a coach. You're not there to judge them. They're going to play for you, and, they're going to give you their all. And so that coach, I had to let everyone know that I was a coach at first, because I wanted them to know that, hey, it's kind of easier for me than, most teachers coming in.
Right. Getting that time with them outside the curriculum, right? Really important.
Correct. Is very, because I'm there to help them with the curriculum aspect of things.
Right. You're no longer a barrier for them. From them reaching their goals. It's a different thing now, right? You're helping them reach their goals as a coach, right?
Exactly.
Awesome. I agree 100%. Like, you have to be involved, and I'm assuming you don't have to be a coach, right? I think any type of sponsor has that. No,
any sponsor, and when I say a coach, I mean you could be the yearbook sponsor, right, or you could be the dance teacher, or you could be a part of the gardening club. They're gonna look at you more than just the academic teacher, because you're teaching them something that they could use outside of the classroom.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. I think anytime you're involved, right, helps you get rapport.
Correct.
All right.
Anytime.
So another thing you said in your message, I thought it was really interesting, is you're open with your students from the first day. Now, why is it important to you to start off that way?
Well, I think that's important because they need to know, what you expect of them. So we go through these first day procedures, and everybody does their introductions, and everybody tells them, how they expect them to walk in their class and talk in their class and actually even turn in homework. But what I found was that nobody talks about, just general life things and talks about themselves as a teacher. So one of the things I tell them my background and why did I start teaching? What did I do beforehand? Because I want them to know that, hey, outside of teaching, I had a life,
Right.
so say, and I want them to know that, hey, they could talk to me about, just anything. And it doesn't have to be teacher related. And I think so many teachers try to be impersonable with their students. So many teachers try to be impersonable with their students that that it's a structured and it's not. It doesn't favor the aspect of building a relationship. They try to keep it so impersonable that they just high and by.
Yeah,
So
I
it's like,
agree. Like first day, if you go over rules first day, you're doing it wrong. I
yeah,
understand like the
exactly,
basic stuff, but I mean,
exactly.
if you if the first impression of a kid is things they can't do and shouldn't do, I feel like that's the wrong way to go.
And I think that's where a lot of first year teachers make their mistake because all of these seasoned teachers are telling them, hey, you got to tell them how you need to be and how you want them, and you got to be strict and hard. Well,
Yeah,
yeah, that's
yeah,
that's that's understandable. You have to, have a code and you have to follow by that code, and you can't be lenient at first. But if you haven't, you can't. I've learned, this lesson a long time that you can't expect somebody to follow the rules if you haven't involved the user, because now they're coming into a new setting.
right.
So in order to, because especially coming in, if let's say I'm teaching freshmen and they're coming from this eighth grade setting where they were a man or they were a girl and they could do anything they want. And now they're coming in as a freshman and they're learning something new. They're at a new school, they're at a new environment. Well, now I'm trying to be stern with them without even building that relationship to be that way. No, I think that's where a lot of teachers make their mistakes because they haven't shown that, hey, okay, I am a person. I am emotional at times. And like I opened up to my students and told them, hey, the first day this year, hey, I get emotional. You're gonna know I'm emotional when I do this, and you're gonna know when I'm upset when I do this or when I'm frustrated. They need to know that teachers are humans.
Right. I think you brought up a great point, and you said it so quickly, but I think it's so profound. You said they need to know why you're there. They need to know your why, dude. I think
Yeah,
that's huge. Like once kids know why you are in that classroom, why you chose to be in that classroom with them, I think they understand that a lot more. And what I get the feeling is maybe some teachers don't know why they're there. And I think
true.
only then, if you know why you're there and you're honest about it, it's really easy to tell the kids, and it's really easy for the kids to understand why you're there, and that starts that relationship.
And I really think a lot of teachers, they know why they're there, but they don't want to admit it to themselves why they're there. Because
Yep.
a lot of people get into teaching because they couldn't do something that they really wanted to do.
Right.
And so they think that that's a settling career, like, oh, I have to be a teacher because I couldn't do X, Y, or Z. Well, I look at it when I got into teaching, I wanted to be a teacher because, for one, I wanted to affect change. And it wasn't because I couldn't do something else. It's because, hey, this is what I wanted to do, and I felt there was a calling for me to get it done. So if teachers can admit to the real reason that they're teaching, then it's another way that they're able to open up to their students.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Uh, Coach, you mind getting to your part two?
No, no problem at all. I said, my next point is you have to be consistent with your students. I mean, you know, if you open up with them, then you have to be consistent. So once you've allowed them to in your personal zone, you have to be consistent. So some of our students don't have the luxury of having parents or guardians that see them on a daily basis. And if they're in your class, then that's the only constant in their life. It helps tremendously building relationships. And if you're consistent in how you deal with them, that if you're not consistent on how you deal with them, then that student can sense someone that is being fraud. And
Yeah.
so one of the things you do not want to do is give off that sense of being fraud to them or being fake to them.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. And I like how you clarified yourself and you said how you're consistent with how you deal with them on a daily basis, right?
Yes.
I think, you can't be too high, too low. Like, you have to be even keel with the kids. You have to treat all of them the same. And I know there's exceptions to it. But I
Yes,
think,
definitely.
and I think they realize that, kids nowadays, man, you can't fool them.
No, you
Anything. You
can't.
can't lie to them. You
Not,
can't
no,
fool
not
them.
at
They are
all.
way too smart, even for themselves, right? So
Yes,
it kind of it
exactly.
forces you to be consistent with them. If not, they're gonna call you out, and you can't be upset by
No,
if you have a double standard or you do see.
exactly.
Yeah.
And they will call you
Oh
out.
yeah.
And that's why it's important that you keep the same level to keep I mean, and it's hard because you are a human. So some days you may feel a certain way, and sometimes you might not like a kid like you like another kid. But you can't show that in the classroom. Not especially not as a first year teacher.
Oh no.
Now, I get away with it because I've been teaching for that long, and I kind of find it gives some students when they know, hey, this teacher shows a little favoritism here. But if you're consistent in that, well, those students tend to try to get on that favorites list. You're not doing it outright to outshine these other students that are not on your list, but those students tend to want to move toward that end of the spectrum because they see, hey, I get rewarded when I do good things in the classroom.
Yeah, and that's the truth of it. I mean, the kids want to please you, right? They want you to like them,
Exactly.
and you just have to give them a reason to, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Definitely.
being consistent is the way to do it. I agree 100%. That's awesome, Coach. Can you go on to your part 3?
Yes. So another thing I use to help build that relationship is I pinpoint those students that are deemed to be those trouble students, and I pick those students as my workers, my classroom workers. I talk with them, let them know that I'm trusting you with a certain task, and I convey the importance of that task. Even if it's just picking up some paper off the floor. This shows that I am not judging them based on their past troubles, and I'm giving them an opportunity to start fresh.
Okay, that's awesome. So, you one of your ways to gain rapport, you kind of pinpoint trouble students or maybe potential trouble students.
Yes, because usually students come in with baggage,
Right.
and those teachers, you sit around, and I heard you. I listened to your podcast earlier, earlier this week, where you talked about, hey, those first day, with in a new environment. So you talk with those teachers, and those teachers are telling you things. Well, one of the things teachers talk about is certain students.
Yeah.
So you always come in and you have an idea, oh, you got Johnny, or oh, you got Susan, or they're going to be this, this, and this. Well, I don't like to fall into that stereotype where I'm judging that particular student already before they even stepped across my threshold. And so when I come at that student with an open mind and, hey, I heard you was this, well, then that's my expectation. And then in the back of your mind, you're thinking, well, I know they're going to throw this trash on the floor, or I know that student's going to give me trouble. Well, what I do is I come at them with a fresh new start. Hey, I tend to let that person maybe be the leader of the table. Maybe that person is going to be the runner that I need to send out messages to other teachers, or even if he or she is just in control of making sure that the class is not too loud. I give them those type of tasks
Oh.
because I'm giving them leadership opportunities.
Yeah, and I think what you're doing is you're giving them responsibility, right? Off the jump.
Exactly.
Yeah, off the bat, you give them responsibility. You give them some expectation, even though it may not be hard, right? I mean,
No.
something as easy as like you're the pass out paper person,
Exactly. You're the person that's going to collect all the papers, and when it's so minute to someone else, but they look at it like, oh, Mr. Cohn, our coach, he trusts me.
Right.
And that's what I'm giving them. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt because I wouldn't want anybody to judge my siblings or judge my family members on past discretions. I want them to be able to come in and have an open mind, and I'm able to earn your trust.
Right, and we know, and I like how you kind of pinpoint trouble students first, because we all know it takes only a couple students to kind of ruin an environment, or kind of make it hard in the classroom,
Exactly.
right? So if you could help one or two, three in the very beginning, that makes the rest of your classroom management a lot easier, right?
Oh, definitely, definitely. Especially when you identify the ones that always give the certain teachers trouble, and it's a proud moment for me to say, "Hey, Johnny
Yep.
didn't do that in my class,"
Yeah, I love
because I
saying that.
give him responsibility. Oh, I love it. I take pride in it because now they know that if that kid has trouble, they could send them to me, and I'm able to talk to them and settle things down. And so when a kid knows that he could come to you when when everything else is going bad, well then you're not only a shining star in that kid's life, but you're also a shining star amongst your faculty. Because 9 times out of 10, if he's giving trouble to somebody else in one class, well then now he's going to disrupt the entire campus at some given point. So now this kid knows he could come to me or come to somebody else that he's built that rapport with, that I've gave him responsibility when nobody else has, and I could cut off some of those things before they get started.
Yeah, that's so like counterintuitive to me. Usually, like you see a bad kid and you tell them, "No, you can't do this." No, you're like really
Hmm.
on them, and that kind of does the opposite of what you're trying to do, right?
Because it definitely does, because that kid has probably been told no, he can't do something
His whole
every
life.
day
Yeah, yeah.
his whole life, and now I'm telling him yes, yes you can, yes you can, even if it's so simple to say, because we have kids every day, oh I can't, my teacher doesn't let me go to the restroom.
Yeah.
Well, yes, you could go to the restroom, just come right back. I'm expecting you to come back at this time. You beat the time. Oh, we celebrate that because now you came back faster than I expected. And so
Yeah.
just little things like that builds confidence in those kids that they could take on the world.
That's awesome, dude. I agree 100%. Uh, you mind going on to part four?
No, not at all. So another tip that aids in building relationships is that my students are open to talk to me about anything. A lot of our students need and want a release, and they might not feel secure talking to a family member or even their friend. So I provide that release for them. I also let them know that if there is something that can be harmful to them or to someone else, it is my job to report it. And they usually will not mind that because you told them that up front instead of trying to hide it from them. And I think that is very important, that, that the kids are able to open up to you.
Yeah, and
You
yeah,
know,
number one is they have to feel safe, right? They have to
they
feel,
have to feel safe.
yeah, and I can't even count how many times I saw a kid really emotional come up to you and start talking. I mean,
Yeah.
that's why you're my first pick to talk about rapport, because you had rapport out the wazoo with these kids, right? And
Yes.
even some of them kids you didn't even teach, and they were still
Nah,
coming up to you.
it's a lot of them I didn't teach. But I mean, I know teachers that, and I've seen this since I've been teaching, that a kid is crying or emotional, and they just let the kid just walk right past them. And just I wasn't reared like that. My father and my mother never reared me like that. My mom was a social worker. My dad was a teacher, or is a teacher, and he teaches on a college setting. But I would never, let a kid just walk past me, and I'm not gonna ask him or her, hey, what's going on? You can talk to me. I mean, it's something about, because if we could pinpoint that issue right then and there, then, like I say, we could, stop other things from happening later on. And I just really think it's important that you are there for your kids to open up to, because like I stated in my statement, hey, we're sometimes the kids, especially a coach, we're sometimes that kid's only release.
Right.
And so, and that's why I made the disclaimer that, hey, if it's something that, hey, you talking about hurting yourself or you're talking about hurting someone else, well, yes, I'm gonna report that. And 9 times out of 10, that kid wants you to report it. If it's something about them hurting someone, they want you to do that because they want, that's the cry for help.
Right.
And so many teachers don't. they ignore that cry for help, and they just let. I don't fool with him. They give me trouble in class. Why I'm gonna ask him why is he mad right now? So I never wanted to take that aspect on things, and I'm trying to be, a superhero, but I just wouldn't want anybody, and I think I take it to pay it forward because I know the men and women in my life wouldn't allow me to sit there and be sad about something. They're going to ask me those tough questions like, hey, what's going on?
Yeah, and I think a lot of the times the kids really want a solution to their problems,
Hmm.
and maybe they want to hurt somebody, but by telling you, it's a way to like resolve that conflict without them having to hurt somebody.
Exactly. And we have to remember they are kids.
Yeah, yeah.
They don't have all the answers. I mean, let's be honest, as adults, we don't have all the answers. So who am I to, pass up this kid who's looking for answers? Who am I to do that?
Hmm.
I'm there as a teacher. I'm supposed to provide some answers. And if I can't find the answers, then I should be able to find a solution or someone who can provide those answers for them.
I got one quick question for you. Has
Yes.
has a kid, you don't have to go into specifics. Has a kid
Uh,
ever told you something that you had to report, and it kind of led to a bigger and bigger thing? Because I feel like some teachers, if you hear something heavy, like really heavy, I mean that's a lot of pressure on you,
mhm.
right? Like it could change lives. It could change a
Yes.
kid life. It could change their family life. Like, have you ever been hesitant? Have you ever heard something so heavy that you've been hesitant to kind of share or kind of keep going down the line with it?
I heard something last year and I shared it with, an administrator or someone who I looked at as an administrator. And, we quickly, went, because it could have been a student, could have been potentially trying to harm himself or harm herself. And I wanted to get it out there to that person and to make sure that, hey, we monitor this particular student. Even in the past, I don't think I had anything as serious as that occurred last year. But yeah, I've been in a situation where it's almost been on the brink. I've even called parents and told them situations. I had a student that unfortunately transferred out, but they were dealing with divorce within his family. He was dealing with divorce within his family, and he was so angry. He was so angry that he wanted to take it out on other students.
Wow.
So his release was he wanted to fight other students. Now this student, was no bigger than uh, probably a fifth grader,
Oh wow.
but in his mindset, he could fight anybody at that time. So I had to call his mom. And, I called his mom and let her know, like, hey, this is what's going on, and these are the troubles that he's going through, and this is what he's told me.
Did his parents have any idea how much it was affecting?
I had no idea.
Wow.
I had no idea. In fact, they thought it was just, normal teenage as him being a freshman. They looked at it as, he's just a freshman and that's what they do. But they had no idea because he, at home, I mean, I like to call it, he was, tears of a clown. So he put on a big smiling face, but he was really hurting in the inside. And I didn't learn that until he started having behavioral issues in my class, where it went from, hey, I'm a smart kid, I'm kind of the class clown, to beating on the desk and walking out of class, and I had to nip it in the bud and pull him outside and like, hey, what's going on? And that's when you find out those things. You get the tears and you get the real situation and what's going on and why he's actually trying to be the class clown because he's trying to run from the emotions of his parents going through that divorce.
Yeah, and I think that's huge for teachers to hear, man. Like sometimes you see a kid who's acting up, who's not following instructions, who's ruining the class environment, but there's a deeper, reason for it half the
Hmm.
time, And all you have to do is just pull them aside and ask them. So kids are way different when they're by themselves, right? I think.
Exactly. As a group, they're gonna show out and act out.
Yep, yep.
But you always get that one kid that lingers, and they may tell you, "Hey, he's only doing that because of this," or you may get the kid itself to linger and apologize to you, because that same kid apologized, the very next day, and he stayed after a little bit after class and let everybody, normally this kid is the first one to pack up his books and leave out. Well, that day he kind of packed up kind of slow, let everybody else leave, and then he came and apologized.
That's awesome. And all it took was you to pull him aside and ask him what's going on.
I mean, they want to know.
Yeah.
I mean, they want you to know. They really want you to know. It's just up to you to, recognize those signs, and, and let them know that, hey, you're worried about their well-being,
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome, Coach. You mind reading your part 5 now?
Yeah, my part 5 is, and finally, one thing that I pride myself on doing is I greet my students at the door as they enter in the classroom. This engagement tool helps me know something. Lets me know, helps me identify if something is bothering my students beforehand. I'm able to dissect and usually solve those issues before they escalate into something bigger. Furthermore, I greet my students to welcome them and just more importantly, show them that someone cares. And I hope these tools, I hope these tools can help, help a first year teacher or any teacher in general who has any troubles building relationships. I hope these can help.
Yeah. So I think that's so important, right? Greeting students at the door. I think that's becoming a more practice now, right? I think most campuses now, they're like, hey, you have to meet your students for that same reason, right? You get an engagement, you see the state of each student as they walk in, you get to see them smile, you get to see them sad, and you can kind of, or angry or crying, how many times, someone's walked in the classroom crying, you kind of can figure that out right now.
Exactly. And you have to do it with fidelity.
Right.
You can't just, because a lot of teachers feel like they're forced to do it, so they're not going to do it or they don't want to do it. And some teachers I don't shake these kids' hands and stuff like that. And you don't have to go, like I've seen several videos where teachers are greeting them and they have their own special little handshakes. You don't even have to do that. But it's the moment that they see you, you're greeting them, and you're just letting them know, like, okay, let me pinpoint this. Hey, good morning. How are you doing? Just something simple as that, because they may have gotten up this morning and nobody told them good morning.
Right.
I mean, I ask my kids every day, hey, how's your day going? How's this and how's that? And, what you find is that I'm also building, their social aspect and helping them socially, because a lot of our kids, they'll just walk in and not know proper rules of engagement. They'll walk in the room and not speak to anybody. They're just going to walk in the room. Well, every time somebody does that, I greet them first. And then I let them know, hey, in turn, hey, when you walk into someone's room, you need to speak. You need to speak and, to let them know, hey, I've entered this room. Hey, how you doing? And it's something simple as that. And so I think I'm also pinpointing those, those emotional disturbances they may be going through, or just helping them socially, learn some social aspects of engagement.
Yeah. But the one thing I noticed in your classroom, Coach, you shake every one of your kids' hand, right?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I just don't see nothing wrong with it. Yes, I do understand that kids may go to the restroom and not wash their hands and things of that nature, but you're the adult, so you know how to handle that and properly wash your hands after the fact and sanitize. Exactly. But I want to shake all my kids, and then sometimes I change it up. I may pound them up one day, and or I shake several kids' hands. I even give some a side hug, because some of them, that's what they want, but I want to greet them, and I want to let them know that, hey, welcome to my learning environment.
Yeah, I know. I agree 100%. And it even goes, like you said, social, right? Like just teaching young men how to shake hands, right?
Yes.
I think I remember one time, I remember this vividly, a student, it was really early, he shook your hand, you're like, no, do it again. Like, I'm going to teach you how to do this. We're going to shake hands firm,
And we're going to do it properly.
Right.
Because I think I know that student, try to grab my hand before I could grab his. So it's kind of, he's squeezing my fingers as opposed to, shaking hands and cusping it properly. And so I said, oh, no, we're going to do this right. Because I let him get away with the first time. And then he tried to do it again, and I said, "Hey, this is how you shake hands. You look a man in the eye, and you grip right here. This is the proper way." Because somebody may have told him that or showed him that. So I wanted to show him the right way, because once he leaves that school and he goes into another setting, that is a tool that every business person uses. That you shake hands and you look a person in the eye. Even my young ladies, shaking hands with them, they initially think, well, you're just supposed to softly shake a woman's hand. No, they grip the same way as a man.
Yeah.
You're gonna shake their hand firmly and look them in the eyes. We're at an age where the woman is a strong and powerful entity in our lives, and they need to understand how to carry themselves as well.
No, I agree 110%. I think it's such important, just like building that rapport through like social skills,
Yes.
and just kind of reading their emotions and kind of,
Correct.
taking measures to kind of fix that if needed be, right?
Correct. And it's gonna be that we all are lifelong learners, and so giving them little tools of the trade like that, maybe they'll pass it on to that next generation, because like I stated, ultimately we want them to leave our school better, and more improved. Not so much better. We just want them more improved than they were before. And so that they're ready to take on college and they're ready to take on the workforce and things of that nature.
Yeah, and it all starts with that rapport with the teacher, right?
Correct. I mean, I think it's just so important, because once they get to college, they might not have that. They might just be a number. But my goal right there is for them not to be a number. They're a name that I call on every day, or that I speak to every day, because I want them to know that, hey, while you're in my setting, you're important to me. And so let's get this educational thing going.
Oh man, I agree 100%. Coach, this was awesome, man. I just all these tips on just how to create rapport. I try to do all those things. There's some stuff I'm learning right now, and I feel like I'm good with rapport. But you're
Definitely you are. You're very good.
but you take the cake, man. So I'm learning a lot from you. I appreciate you. You got any last closing remarks? You got anything to say?
Just for one, just don't be intimidated by your students. Take on them as they're gonna take on you. You want them to learn from you, so you learn from your students, and I think that'll make a wonderful year of learning.
Awesome, Coach. Derek Kuhn, I appreciate you coming on. Hopefully, do this again sometime soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
In closing, thank you for listening, and make sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts so you don't miss out on future episodes. Make sure to get your questions in and continue the discussion on our Facebook page. Big thanks again, and remember, keep it real and stay educated.